Welcome to CareSmarts 360 on Air, a home care podcast, and I am Ruby Mehta, VP of Sales at CareSmarts. So hold on to your headphones, folks, because today we have a marketing storm on the horizon. Joining us is none other than Steve Hurricane Weiss, President and CEO of Hurricane Marketing Enterprises. Since 2012, Steve and his team have been empowering private duty, home care, home health, and hospice providers to blow past revenue goals with a client impact topping $1 billion. Yes, billion with a B. But Steve's not just about numbers. He's here to show us how a powerful, reliable marketing strategy can be the bedrock of compassionate care. From developing referral sources to designing knockout sales campaigns, Steve as a team take the reins so your agency can focus on what matters, providing top-notch care. So whether you're looking to grow your client base or scale your business to new heights, strap in. Hurricane Steve is about to share the secrets to mastering the marketing whirlwind. Welcome to the podcast, Steve. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And I am sure that our audience is going to love this conversation.
We're gonna have fun. And that billion with a B, I love it the way you emphasize that, because it is true, and it's one of those things. For the last 12 years, when you work with as many people as I have and you help them get more patients and you collectively add that up, it even blows me away when I put it all together and I start adding it up. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Awesome. That's the beauty, right? You
Sure is.
don't even realize what you're doing. You when you really take a break and really go through things, that's when you realize. But that's a beautiful thing.
Amen.
Yeah. All right, Steve. So, what are the first steps a home care agency should take to evaluate and improve their profit margins, especially if they're currently below 10%?
So this is one of the things I've been speaking a lot about lately, because so many agencies are below 10%, and it's a very difficult place to be. You know, when you think about your business, and a lot of folks fall into this position where they're using their business as a cornerstone piece for their retirement someday, and they want to sell that business someday. But if the business is operating below 10% profit, that business is not worth anywhere what people think it is, and that could lead to an issue. So you have to run the business closer to a 20% profit margin, so that when the day comes when they do want to exit, you can do so and get the true value of what your business is worth. Now, in order to be able to get those margins up, there's several factors that people can do. The first one really comes from identifying your target customer. When I think about the nature of the home care business, so many folks think that any patient coming out of a hospital is their potential patient, or any elderly person who is slowly declining is their potential customer. And that's not true. When you look at that number, that makes it, you're going after every single senior citizen in your territory. That's way too much for you to try and target. That's way too much for you to try and capture, and you couldn't handle all of that. So instead, we really have to hone in and focus on what I call a nerd client. And a nerd client is somebody with a great need, who is elderly, who has resources financially, and they are disabled and or have dementia. When you go after that customer, now it breaks down all the seniors into a very refined, specific segment of the senior population. And then as you're bringing those folks on, these are folks that need a lot of hours of care. They need it every week, and they need it for a long period of time, which allows you to stack patients and grow the census quickly. And because they need a lot of help in a short period of time, every single week, we're talking 40 hours, 56 hours, 84 hours a week and beyond. It doesn't take a lot of staff to manage it, which will mean greater profit margins without changing your price. So it all comes back to, what am I doing to drive bringing in this type of customer and then serving those patients long term.
Yeah, no, that's a really great advice. People really focus that that's one thing in sales that we do it really carefully, that you identify who your target, and it's you don't have to go broad. You just find that niche, you just find that specialized target audience.
Correct.
100%. Yes, I agree. Um, and which marketing strategies do you find most effective for generating targeted, high quality leads that convert into long-term clients, as we just discussed? And the second part is how agencies should really prioritize their marketing budget to maximize ROI. So first piece is marketing strategies, and the second piece people really want to learn, I guess, is how do they prioritize the budget?
So I love this question so much because it's one of those things where everybody is trying to compete with everybody else. And they're all trying to do essentially the same thing. Social media, pay-per-click ads, SEO, a place for mom, all the digital software out there, and we have to have a digital presence. So I'm not taking away from it, but don't rely 100% on the digital presence. The digital presence should be 50% of the marketing effort, and the other 50% must be direct referral in-person relationships. That's the only way you're going to get the one, I call it the 1-2 punch of marketing. When you have the digital presence makes it easy for people to find you. When you have the relationships, the people who are working with the patients who need the help will recommend you, then they find you online, and then they come to you for services. We need that 1-2 punch. Now, to the second part of what you were saying, how much of a budget should we put into this type of marketing? Well, the first thing is we have to have a full-time business development professional. I don't like part-time people. It's not that part-time people aren't good, but part-time people don't get the results that you're looking for. So if you can't afford a full-time person, you, the owner, must go out and make the relationships, get the revenue higher so that you can afford a full-time person, and then you bring in the full-time person. Once you have that full-time person, you should dedicate just 1%, just 1% of the total revenue goal that you're shooting for to give to this person for all things direct referral marketing. So if I want this person to bring in $1 million of revenue, I have to give that person $10,000, which is about $800, $850 per month, which is a nice, modest budget so that they can do lunches, take people out for coffee, sponsor events, collaborate on activities, and do all of the things, relationship development, that leads to getting those professional referrals.
How beautiful. I have never heard someone simplify it in such a way. Just 1% out of your revenue goal is what you need. Absolutely great advice.
Thank you. It's something that too many people, like you said, they get so caught up in it and they just start throwing money everywhere. And the next thing you know, at the end of the year, you spent 5%, 6%. That's too much. 1% for the person. Now you got to have the salary too, so that goes on top of it. But 1% dedicated towards everything direct referral marketing. That's all it takes.
Beautiful. On that referral marketing, now one of the things that people I think struggle with finding the most effective ways to establish and strengthen relationships with referral sources to drive that consistent referrals. What are your suggestions for marketing people out there or the owners, small business owners, to build and strengthen that relationship with their referral sources?
So I love this question so much, and it's interesting because I will throw out an added bonus right now. Anybody who's listening to this This is how the business was prior to 2020. So
Mhm.
before 2020, there were events, there were networking opportunities, there were continuing education events, there were people sponsoring activities in communities, and there were health fairs and vendor fairs. All this stuff existed before 2020. Then now we have 4 years where people didn't do it because of the pandemic. We had the social distance, everybody went to technology. And now here we are, people are trying to get back into it. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this back up because this is a golden opportunity for the listener because people are trying to get back into it. This gives you a chance to get yourself established because the people who were established before the pandemic are no longer established there. So you get the opportunity to be the one, the pioneer, to lead the charge and bring it back out. Now, I'd say professional networking events is one of the best ways to go about it. When you go to the networking events, find the ones that are in your area. You can easily go onto LinkedIn, you can go onto Facebook and find different healthcare segments, different healthcare groups that already exist. Find out who's having events and then RSVP and show up at the event. Something I teach my clients when they go to the event, a goal at one of these events in person is to speak to 5 people for 5 minutes and then do what I call book a meeting from a meeting, meaning I'm here right now, I'm meeting with you, Ruby. I want to continue the conversation, but there's a lot of people here, so I want to make my way around the room. I want to book a meeting from this meeting to follow up with you, Ruby, next week at Starbucks and have a cup of coffee and continue the conversation. Do that with 2 out of the 5 people. So if I'm going to go to networking events, if I'm going to go to continuing education events, if I'm going to go to vendor fairs and health fairs, I want to speak to at least 5 people for 5 minutes. And from those 5 people, schedule follow up right there on the spot with at least 2 to continue the conversation later on. You do that, you're going to start to get your foot in the door in places where you're currently not getting referrals, and then that will allow you to open up your referral network.
Oh, how beautiful. I'm loving it how you are simplifying things so much for our audience, be it a marketing professional or somebody who is an owner, small business owners. They are out and about trying to really build those relationships. So that's a very good idea, very good advice. 5 minutes, 5 people, 2 follow-up meetings. That's beautiful.
If you go to 3 meetings a week, this is the way I always view it. If you go to 3 meetings in a week, and this is why I have such success with my clients, what do you say at the meetings, all that? We could talk for hours about that, right? And how do you get the next steps and what are the goals and how to create the long-term relationship? We don't have enough time to go over that here. And if people want help with that, they can contact me. But the meat and potatoes, the core concept is I can go to 3 places a week, speak to 15 people, 5 at each one, and schedule a follow-up with 2 out of those 5, which gives me 6 appointments next week. Those 6 appointments, now I'm going to start making headway and making progress and next steps. Out of those 6, 3 of them aren't going to be worth doing anything with, but 3 will, and I continue the relationship. And if I'm doing this every single week, it's going to make it where every week I have appointments. These appointments are leading to building relationships, which lead to getting referrals, and just continue the process over and over again. It really isn't that difficult. I like to break it down to the ridiculous so that when people get so overwhelmed, like, I can't market. And I'm like, I'm only asking you to go to 3 meetings a week. I'm only asking you to schedule some follow up. And remember, you're not going to get business from the meeting. The meeting is just the first step. You get business what you do after the meeting in that follow-up one-on-one and building the relationships.
Exactly, exactly. Now we can do a new podcast, another podcast about networking and how you follow through because many people, and I know I'm derailing from the topic right now, but many people they attend events, proactive network, but fail to follow through. And that's where everything that you have done will not give you results.
You hit the nail on the head. It's actually funny because when I train, when I speak at conferences, or when people come to my boot camps and I train them on what we're saying here, but then how to do all the next steps. Because I'm spending 3 days with them, right, at the boot camps. And when I go through it, people are like, wow, I can do this. So it goes from this is impossible, I can't do this, to wow, that makes so much sense. I can follow those steps. And that's why we're talking $1 billion in revenue growth over the last 12 years, because I have so many people doing these next steps. And when you simplify it and break it down to the ridiculous, it makes it attainable. And once it's attainable, and then people start to see it, and yeah, you're gonna strike out more than you're gonna get a home run. But you have to be consistent with it. If you hit one home run a week, that's new business. That's new clients that you didn't have. And if they're these target nerd customers we're discussing here, that could be a game changer for your business. You can take a company that's doing 1,000 hours a week, and in 12 months, they're doing 2,000 hours, or a 2,000 hour business, they're doing 3,500 hours in 1 year. That's tremendous growth, doubling the business or growing by 75% in 1 year. That's unheard of, yet people are doing it year after year when they bring this direct referral marketing on top of the digital that they're already doing.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's the power of networking and following, like break it down to the simplest steps and then follow through those steps. That's the power of good marketing.
Amen.
Now I'm because the profitability, the care quality, and it all connects with obviously getting quality clients, good marketing, good process. But it also is dependent on caregiver recruitment and retention. So, do you have any strategies, or do you provide any advice to your clients on how to effectively manage and optimize their caregiver recruitment and retention? Because in some way, I think that's also not really directly connected to marketing, but that's also a skill to recruit and retain, and that involves some marketing and sales skill as well.
Amen to that, sister. And it's so funny that you mention that, because when I look at my biggest clients, the clients I have that are having the most successes, it really is the perfect balance of the direct referral marketing and the digital marketing, bringing in the patient, the right type of patient, with a full-time, sometimes multiple full-time recruitment effort. And this is where I've seen a company go from 2.5 million to 5 million, or 5 million to 10 million in 1 year, because they bring it together. So you hit the nail on the head. It does require some selling. Now, recruiting, there's two schools of thought on recruiting: digital, Career Plug, Indeed, all the different companies out there to help you placing ads. Yes, 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 yes. We have to do that. And it's got to be a full-time effort. Something that has also been working paired with, because you cannot grow without that. You have to have that. Pairing with it, truly a direct referral marketing effort to bring in caregivers, meeting the caregivers where they're at. I've had clients successfully go out and go work with universities and colleges and schools to bring in students. I've had clients successfully go out and flyer and put out, almost like the political ads, the ads that people put on lawns, the lawn signs, do the same thing in developments and in areas where caregivers live, and putting out work. I've had clients go out with their recruiter, and the recruiter goes out and she is doing job fairs and working with the unemployment offices in their towns, in their counties, in their communities, and finding people who are between work and between jobs to bring them in. I've even had some of my bigger clients. My biggest client I'm working with is $100 million company. So they're doing 100 million in revenue a year. They have a team of people doing direct referral marketing and direct referral recruiting, right? I've had people go out and they're doing things at mega churches, and they're doing community events, and they're doing the township day or the county day where they have a table and a booth. People are wearing shirts that have all types of advertisements all over the shirts, and they're doing this on company time. Use your company's shrink wrap car to be able to do things. I've had clients go out and buy a old transportation bus and turn the bus into a on the spot interview recruitment type place where you could do a job fair and you could do it in a parking lot. It's the things that people are doing, and this is all, I call it recruit like the military, right? And the reason why I say recruit like the military is I always tell people to think back to when they were in high school, and every time you go to the cafeteria at lunch, there'd always be somebody from the military there, right? There'd always be, today it's the Navy, then the next day it's the Army, and the Air Force is there, and now it's the Space Force, and they're trying to recruit talent, and they're there every single day, and then they finally get students to give them some information. Then they start calling them and texting them and sending them stuff in the mail and emailing them and everything else. But that's why we have the largest volunteer military in the world, right? We don't force people to go into the military. Everybody chooses to do so. Well, part of that is the effort that they do to bring in troops. We have to do the same exact thing. We have to do everything in our power, everything digitally, because it's necessary. Using companies like what's the text company that will text message with AI? I forget what it's called offhand. I think it's Pre-Intent. Companies like Pre-Intent to keep the dialogue going and communicate with the text aspect. You have to have all of that. But don't forget the direct out there bringing people into your organization. When you pair that together, you're going to have an abundance of caregivers. And then when you have the direct referral marketing working with your digital marketing, you'll have work to give those caregivers, which makes your company skyrocket.
Absolutely. I mean, so many advices in this one recruitment retention. I mean, people can do a lot and group these digital and in-person. It is marketing. It is a selling happening while you are recruiting and you're retaining talent. So absolutely great advice there.
Can I add something?
Yes.
So to the recruiting side of it, if you're going to go with the direct referral type in person, that is usually a different skill set from your traditional recruiter. So start with the digital, get the digital mastered, get your digital online, and the person who's mainly focused on recruiting, get her schedule maxed out where she can't do any more than what she's doing. She's working 40 hours, and we need to add a second person, then hire somebody who has the external skill set to go out and do it. So this way you have that 1-2 team. In addition to that, I'll also throw out there when it comes to interviewing, there's so many different ways that we can interview. We have to have our recruiters stop giving the position away because we're desperate. I understand. We need more caregivers, right? So you could start working right away and we're anything we can to get you. Instead, sell why your company is the right company to work for on the interview, whether it's in person or digitally, either way. Sell why your company is the greatest. We have this, we do this for our caregivers, benefits and pizza Fridays and all the things that we do for our caregivers, so that that person that you're interviewing is like, wow, Ruby, I really want to work here. And then when can I start? And then you say, well, hold on, you got to get the job first. And then all of a sudden, oh, yes, yes, yes. And then all of a sudden, so sell why your company is the cat's meow, why your company is the best of the best to work for, and then flip it and remind them that they're on an interview and they got to get the job first. Once you do that, now you have an army of volunteers that want to work for your company.
Beautiful. Yes. I was actually, and my next question is kind of correlated to how you explain that focus on digital first and then come to that in-person marketing and recruitment and referral efforts. So my last question for today's podcast is, in your experience, what are the most common financial mistakes agencies make that impact their profitability? And I know you addressed this a little bit in your last answer, that focus on one thing and not everything, then you drain your budget entirely and then, no results maybe. And how can they avoid these pitfalls?
So that's a great question. And I'm guilty of this too. Like I don't want anybody to sit here and think, okay, Steve, you're the expert, you know everything. I'm guilty of this stuff too. But this is where the difference between what I do and this is what I'm telling you to do as well. I'm telling you to do what I do with it versus people who aren't doing it. I have scheduled every quarter of the year to do a self-internal audit. And with that self-internal audit, that's where, and it may take me a week, and that's a lot for a business owner, right? But this is working on your business versus working in your business. You might have to do it for a weekend. You might have to get your executive team together and go through it together. But every quarter of the year, we have to sit down, we have to take time to look at our business. We have to look at where we're spending money and then look at our return on our investment. If I'm spending all this money in this area here and 3 months passes and I'm not getting the return, well, I have a decision to make. Is it going in the right direction? Then I'll give it another 3 months. If it's not going in the right direction, stop it. Stop doing it. Cut the plug, cancel it, right? Because when you do that, if you continue to spend money on things that's not producing a return, we're wasteful. And I can tell you, so many people are very wasteful with it. And I know, for example, I have an advertising thing that I'm doing, and it was this exact situation. I gave it to 90 days. At 90 days, it was too soon for me to be able to determine if this is the right thing for me to continue to do. So I continue to do it. And instead of me continuing to do it for a year, I committed to 90 more days. At the end of this 6 month period, I will know if I'm going to continue to do it or not. Right now, today, if I had to make the decision today, I would say, no, I'm not going to continue it. I have a month and a half left. But as of right now, I'm probably going to cancel doing it, which is going to save me a lot of money. I tried it, gave it its good, honest effort. It's not doing what it's supposed to. Don't continue to pay for it. I see too many people just throwing money at everything. We're not tracking our analytics, so we're not tracking where our caregivers are coming from. We're not tracking where our patients are coming from because we don't have good management of those KPIs. That's where CareSmart and all the other different companies out there come in. They have it. Make sure you're putting the accurate data in so you know where everything is coming from. And then you can adjust and look at it and be like, all right, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. From a direct referral marketing standpoint, tracking my referrals coming in from referral sources. If I've been going to an account over 6 months' time, and I've been there at least a dozen times in 6 months, and I'm not getting referrals from them, something's got to give. Either I didn't qualify it properly and they actually don't have referrals to give me, which means I stopped going, or I need to have a conversation with the management and ask for the business. And if they're not going to refer me, then it's okay to walk away and start working somewhere else. Having this every quarter self audit helps you to keep yourself fiscally responsible.
Such a good advice. I'm so big on numbers, analytics, KPIs, and that's what I talk about all the time with the agencies that we work with. The KPIs are the best thing that you can get from, I know, the technology platform like CareSmart. The core is scheduling and finding caregivers and record management and all that good stuff. But at the end, what it gives you is your KPIs that you should not ignore. You track your performance, you analyze your situation, and then make good decisions based on those KPIs. So that's such a great advice. I can't thank you.
And you know this, Ruby. When somebody does this regularly and they're tracking us, you can add 4%, 5% revenue to the business. Like it sounds crazy, but on $1 million, there could be 20, 30, $40,000 in negligent spending because we're not tracking the KPIs and we're just throwing money at it to try and solve a problem instead of really taking a look at what is the problem, identifying it, fixing it, and stop the hemorrhaging of finances.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for bringing this up, bringing KPIs and analytics, because that's so important for every business owner, for every management, whether it's small size, big, large enterprise, to really address and focus what's working and what's not working for them.
Thank you. I love it.
Great, great. All right. So that brings us to the end of this podcast, Steve. And I want to thank you for sharing your expert advice on every topic that I was bringing on the fly. And I am sure that our audience had a great time here listening to this podcast. And thank you for tuning in, everyone. Thank you, Steve.
You're very welcome. I hope to see everybody at a Home Care Evolution boot camp soon.